welcome to our home, life in every season. I've been trying to think of a different type of video that I wanted to put out today, and my husband and I talked about it. It's a cooking video, and we started thinking about things that we don't see a lot outside of the state that we both grew up in, which is West Virginia. One of the things that you can find in West Virginia that you don't find anywhere else that I know of around this country is pepperoni rolls. You can't go to a gas station, a convenience store, a grocery store without being able to pick up pepperoni rolls. So what makes them so special? Well, the history behind the pepperoni roll is West Virginia is known as a coal mining state, and in the early part of the 1900s, the coal miners' wives would pack their lunches with pepperoni, which is a cured meat, so they didn't have to worry about spoilage, and they would also include homemade bread. And around 1920 something, nobody has been able to nail it down completely, but a gentleman named Giuseppe Arrigo, I hope I didn't butcher that too badly, he decided to put the two together, and that's how the pepperoni roll came to be about. It's basically a yeast bun roll around chunks of pepperoni. It's a one-handed snack that the coal miners could use while they were, when they were taking their lunch breaks or whatever break they had, and it was easy for them to put in their lunchbox, and they didn't have to worry about refrigeration or spoilage. So today I'm going to do a pepperoni roll with a little bit of a different dough. My husband's grandmother, Amelia Brown, affectionately known to us as Mama, this recipe comes from her. It's a calzone dough, but you can use it for so many other things. Mama Brown was a cook in the local school system in Smithers, West Virginia, which is also in coal mining country. And she had lots of friends and neighbors who were immigrants who were working to get their citizenship. And she used to help them in getting prepared for that. And in return for her kindness, they would give her their recipes. And a lot of these recipes were Italian recipes. So this is a calzone recipe handed down from Mama Amelia Brown to the rest of us. And I hope you guys give this recipe a try. It's easy. It has a total of 6 ingredients. You don't have to be a bread master to be able to make this dough. It's fantastic for pizza, for calzones, for pepperoni rolls, or just a yeast roll that you want to eat with your spaghetti. So let's go over the ingredients. The first thing you're going to need is 2.5 teaspoons of active dry yeast. It doesn't have to be any specific brand or anything like that, just 2.5 teaspoons. So we're going to put that in our bowl. The next thing you're going to need is 1 cup of warm water. Now make sure you test your water. Use the inside of your wrist just like you would for when you're testing a bath for a child. That way you won't kill the yeast by putting too hot of a water in it. So we're going to put that in here, and we're going to give that a stir. And you can tell if your yeast is really happy because it's going to start bubbling, and you'll see some little perkiness in your mixture here. But yeast get hungry. They have to eat something. So we're going to give them some sugar. Now, when we had our farm, we had a small homestead farm in West Virginia for several years. We raised bees. My husband is a bee raiser. He would get the honey from them every summer, sometime between the end of June. And instead of using sugar, we used honey, and it works great in this recipe. So we're going to stir this up, and we're going to give it about 15 minutes to let it get nice and frothy. So now you can see it's been 15 minutes, and you can see the foam. My yeast are happy little critters right now. So we're going to put in our flour. So this is 3 cups of all-purpose unbleached flour. You can use any type of all-purpose flour that you like. I just prefer unbleached. And I've got to give another kudos to West Virginia. This was a china that was made in my hometown in West Virginia, and it is the Trenlow Blake China Company. And I love this bowl. It goes with me. It's a keepsake. It's something that came from the same place that my grandmother used to work at. And I have a picture of her. She worked in a marble factory, which also, I believe, made this china, and that was her sitting at the marble making stand when she was 14 years old. There was a lot of factories in West Virginia and a lot of work for young people back in the early 1900s. So that's Grandma. We love to keep her close by. So we're going to grab a spoon. Now we're going to put 1.5 teaspoons of salt. You can use kosher salt. Any type of salt will work. I'm using sea salt because that's what I like to cook with. I'm going to put it on top of the flour because it's my understanding that if the salt gets in contact with the yeast too quickly, it can kill it. So we're going to put that on top. We're going to put in our olive oil, that was 1/2 cup of extra virgin olive oil. You can use any vegetable oil that you prefer. I just tend to use this in this particular recipe. And we're going to stir this up. It's going to create a wet batter or a wet dough. You could do this in a KitchenAid mixer. I don't have one, so I just do it in a bowl and get it all mixed up. When it starts to get to the point where it will form a ball, we're going to put it out on the countertop and we're going to knead the dough. It doesn't need a lot of kneading, but it does need it to combine well enough. So you can see it's starting to stick together pretty well, and I think we could get a ball out of this. So I'm going to throw a little bit of all-purpose flour on the countertop. And we're going to knead this. You don't need a lot of flour. The olive oil in this dough actually makes it not quite too sticky to the hands. So we're going to pick it all up, form it into our little ball here. You can see it's already kind of taking shape. And then we're just going to put it on a floured surface and we're just going to start kneading it. And we're going to knead it until it becomes into an elastic type, springy type of dough. And like I said, you can see it's not sticking to my hands, and that's because there's so much oil in the dough. But it rises beautifully when it cooks, and we're getting close to where I like it. You can see that it's starting to get a little smooth. And it's okay if your dough is a little bit lumpy. That's normal with this type of dough that we're making. But you can see it's starting to get a little smooth, a little bit springy. And when you push it, it's kind of pushing back up at us. So we're going to put this into a greased bowl, and we're going to cover it for about an hour. Now I'm going to set this right here because I do have one already prepared. It likes to be on top of my refrigerator, and you can see it's doubled in size. It's gotten really nice and large compared to this one. So you can see how much it's risen. So now we're going to pull it out, put it on the countertop. Oh, you can hear it. It sounds beautiful. See how that came out so easy? So now we're going to section this off. into sections. Now I like to use some type of a blade, a dough blade. You can use this for all types of different things besides just dough. And I'm going to cut it in half. I'm going to set this one over here. And then I'm going to cut this into thirds. They're fairly equal. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But what we're going to do is we're going to push this out into about a 4-inch by 6-inch kind of square. Doesn't have to be perfect. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our pepperoni, which my husband and I are stick pepperoni people. There's also folks who like to have the rounds. You can do either one. We just happen to like the stick pepperoni. This is boar's head pepperoni that we're able to get at our local shops here. Like I said, you can use any type of pepperoni. You can use salami. You can use any type of cured meat you want to in a pepperoni roll. So we're going to lay one down and do a roll. Then we're going to put another one in the crease. We're going to do a roll. Then we're going to put one more in that crease. And we're going to do a roll. And then we're going to pinch down the sides because the fat and the grease that is in that pepperoni, we want that to stay inside the pepperoni roll. And we're going to put it seam side down on a parchment lined cookie sheet. We're going to do that one more time, and then I'm going to show you. Now I made some rolls yesterday, and you can see the nice golden color, and you can see the inside of the roll where the pepperoni gets rolled up in. These are a great snack to take with you, a great lunch, and I hope that you will give this recipe a try. Remember, West Virginia pepperoni rolls. Thank you so much for visiting us at Life in Every Season.